Happy kind of summer to everybody. And first item on the agenda, additions, deletions, or any changes to the agenda? I don't believe we have any.
We do have an addition to the agenda.
Okay.
Renee can tell us what it is.
For the grants and aid program, so this would be the year 2 of the grants and aid program. We have, they've identified the hydrologically connected road, segments of road. And so last year, we did Levine Hill, or this current year did Levine Hill Road, and,
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
No, we're-
I was looking for a town forest recreation study group will be upstairs.
Okay.
Sure.
thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry to interrupt.
And what was the other segment of road we did?
Turkey Lane or?
Turkey Lane,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, so those two segments were done, and now we're gonna do this letter of intent to participate in the program again this year.
Great,
And
good,
so,
good.
We'll be selecting another segment or two.
So you should maybe be using the speaker, yeah.
There we go.
All right.
They talked about that at the QUAC meeting on Tuesday, and I meant to ask you if
Yes,
you were doing that.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
thank you. Glad to know.
So we'll add that to the agenda during the town administrator section.
Super.
Any other changes? No, and no one in the audience with any public comment? We'll move to item 3, consider reappointment of the Planning Advisory Committee representative for the CCRPC.
I'll make a motion to appoint Alex Weinhagen as our representative to the Planning Advisory Committee of the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission.
Second.
And that's a term, 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2018. And it is a reappointment.
Yes.
yes, yeah,
And I assume Alex
yes.
knows we're doing this. Yeah,
Details,
it's worth asking the question. I mean, I assume that,
yes,
but yeah.
he does.
Yeah, good, thank you.
I believe he's been representing
Yes.
us at the CCRPC for a number of years.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
All right.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Next item on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to convene as the local board of liquor control.
All
Second.
those in favor, okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. So we are now the local liquor control board. And the item on the agenda is potential second-class liquor license for the Jiffy Mart, who now is owned by somebody else. So the,
I don't know, has it changed yet?
Well, I believe it has, I mean, that's, so
Okay.
they're wanting to do this license, the only reason they're doing it because they have to have local Montello Group Corporation listed. And because they're acquiring it, so they're applying for the second-class liquor license just for that name change.
and
I make a motion to approve the application for a second-class liquor license by Jiffy Mart, now owned by Global Montello Group Corp.
I'll second that for you.
okay. Any discussion? I don't believe there's been any issues that we're been made aware
So
of.
my understanding is this is the same thing, it's just a
Same
name
exact thing,
change.
yeah,
Is
they're
the
just having
purpose for
to
this, okay.
Reapply under the new name.
Off the subject a bit, but does anybody know if they sold all the Jiffy Marts
That
or
I
just
don't
this
know.
one?
I guess I would assume that they would have been all of
I would
them.
think, but
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And so the motion passed.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Board of Liquor Control.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That motion passed. So we are now just the plain old select board.
Right on your game tonight, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's nice to,
Item 5 is to consider approving the fiscal year 19 water and wastewater budget. This is something we need to do before the start of the new year, which is July 1st. We had a discussion at our last meeting where we discussed the budget, and Eric Bailey is here again to help us through this. And so I think what's proposed at this point is zero change to the wastewater budget, but a 19 point,
Do you want the budget or the memo right now?
Or the rates?
the rates, sorry, right, sorry, I apologize for that.
About an 8% increase in the wastewater budget, but the current rates cover that with a little bit of cushion.
Do you want the memo up, or would you like the budget up, actually?
I think we're approving the budget
yeah.
first.
Okay,
I did have a question about the
Okay.
memo, though. So we'll be talking about the water and then the wastewater. If you go down to the, near the bottom of the.
sure.
Oh, no, I guess I looked at it again and I answered my own question.
Okay,
So, yeah, so there wasn't a question on that. So maybe we'll scoot to the budget.
okay. I can do that.
I guess I'll ask a question about the memo. So the 19% increase, how much of that is due to the bond?
It's due to the bond.
Yeah, it
all of
looks
it.
like,
All of
yeah.
it.
Okay.
All of it.
Yeah, it looks like that percentage. In fact, the bond is actually a slightly bigger percentage of the budget, this additional bond.
It is.
So you can see that
Yeah.
in the budget. Let's see here. So, for example, you have on line 14 and 15, there's the 96 bond, which continues. It looks like it drops, the interest drops a little bit.
Yep.
But then you've got possible interest of the, I guess we're calling it the 2018 bond. And you can see 67 plus 11, 77,000. And if you were to look, and so the budget for that
Over
section.
78.
79.
Yeah, right. So, and that percentage is, I think, a little bit more than, it's more than 20%. So it's roughly that of the overall budget of the 375.
Right, actually, if you look at the change, you know, the bond is $79,000, and the delta on the budget is $73,000. So we actually shrank the budget other than the bond.
So there's nothing in our budget that is calculating for other improvements. So we're really not doing any capital planning.
There's the capital transfer of 20,000 that
Right.
reserves.
Which is down a little bit,
Okay.
which we, I think Eric acknowledged it's down a little bit
Yeah.
because of the
Right.
year. And then you can see on line 10, there is an increase there on repair and maintenance.
Right, but is that is
That's O&M.
So that could be a response to broken water mains, or it could
Right.
be fixing and improving things along the way.
You could use it that way if you had, yeah.
well, we don't know that though until
Late in the season. Yeah,
until late in the
year.
season. So if we operate on basing our rates, so if we don't spend it, it's not like we have to, approve it in terms of setting the rates the following year, the way we do in the other budget. So it becomes part of our reserve.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of, and do we know what is in our reserve right now?
In the 300s of thousands.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know the exact number, but 300 some odd.
All right, and so do we have any kind of capital plan, though, for what we're going to do in order to get ahead, I think that's one of the things we talked about last time,
Right.
is coming up with some kind of plan on where we think we should be putting in those new
Right.
shut-offs.
And that's,
Right.
And that's the whole focus of the asset management plan.
Okay, so we're gonna wait until we do that before we, okay,
Smart way to do it.
okay.
So I think we've encouraged Eric and his team to recommend to us if there is any sort of proactive items that we should be doing.
Absolutely.
Even small, I'll say small, by being able to isolate the water system even more so.
Yeah.
So if we do have problems or we do need to do maintenance,
Right.
it interrupts less people.
We had two of those inexpensive, to get ahead of ones in the past month. One of them was the water break over, on 116, across from, Giroux. We were able
Yeah.
to,
Just recently.
we were able to access the 8-inch valve and replace all of the carbon steel bolts on the bonnet with stainless steel bolts, because that whole class of valves were, improperly bolted. And so we fixed that one. So it's not a bomb. And then we also had the contractors for the Norris project water line unearth our final valve, and we rebolted that as well. That was just yesterday.
Is that what was going on over
Yep.
there on Friendship?
Yep. So they're laying line, but in the process, we put new bolts in that valve as well. So chipping away.
This is down here at the southern end.
Yeah.
So they're hooking up, I assume, for the whatever the condo.
The Norris project.
Yeah, Norris project. And so from that point on, it's their piping.
They are responsible to lay it to our specs. It'll be Maine.
Oh, it is
It'll
Maine.
be
Okay.
town Maine.
Yeah. So you're watching that process. Okay.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
So that's the water line going in. I
Correct.
was thinking it was the sidewalk, or
No.
is that going
That's
on?
That's 8-inch
That's just the water line.
PVC
Okay.
water line.
Okay.
But they're gonna put a sewer line in too.
They are.
So I had one question on the budget, line 19, capital transfer. So for 2017, budget's all done. We said we were going to transfer 27,000. Does this mean we didn't transfer anything?
I'm not certain if it means that or not. Some of the things get dropped off. I've got to inquire with the town clerk's office on that.
Is that something you could let us know? Is that, I think we could be worried about not putting enough capital
Right.
transfer in there. And, there's both two sides to that story. And so we see we went down a little bit, and then, I'm just curious on this previous year, did we choose not to do that for some reason? I mean, you look at the budget for 17 was 261. It was actually spent 387.
Yep.
And for some reason, that depreciation line
Right.
is there.
Right. That's one of those accountant things that they have to put in. And I can't explain it. it's a Joan thing, and so it's not a real. That's depreciation of all of your assets.
The assets, yeah.
And that's what is driving that delta on your total. So it's not
Yeah, and
like,
it's
it's not
not-
a liquid
it's-
movement.
It's not the cash flow.
Right.
Are there any?
As far as we know, we did transfer the 27
It's possible.
in 17. Fiscal year, because we're a year away from having finished that one. And in the 18 budget, we're now would assume that we would
27.
transfer that 27.
Right.
But Eric, would you just check
will
on
double
that
check
and
that.
let us know? You
I
can
will.
send it to us via email, just so we understand it and
Sure
can
will.
speak to it.
Yep.
So Eric, you feel like utilities, you've got a grasp on it to drop it to 13,000?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So our expenditures, if you just look at the end of the year or near the end of the year, don't show that. But I went back and broke out utility bills from the end of January to now and went off of that, because that's the timeline when we had all the big breaks fixed. And our electric payment at the water facility plummeted. So,
And it doesn't have anything to do with it being winter versus summer.
no.
Okay.
No, it's purely hours.
Okay.
Yeah, because the heat over there
Hours of
is,
pumping.
the heat over there is
Right.
gas.
Right. So utilities covers electricity.
It covers
Natural
propane, natural
propane.
gas, all that stuff. And the difference is purely based on the electricity at the water plant, the drop. And I actually didn't drop it as much as the math came out to, just for a little bit of fudge factor.
And so you've got the electrical consumption from the pumps out of the well. Then you have the electrical consumption to pump everything through the filter
Through the
system.
filter, and then to pump it through the system.
Right, but I mean, you're not, yeah, I guess you're pumping it because you're losing it later on. So you're pumping it up the hill and it's coming down the hill and leaking out.
And your booster
Yeah.
pumping over at Cemetery.
Okay. Yep.
Whole
So
bunch.
it would be all of those things.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Give me an idea of how many hours it was running, and compared to what it is now.
It was running upwards of 16 hours a day, and now it's running between 7 and 9. It's double.
That's a lot of water.
That's significant.
Yeah. Oh yeah, March, this past March, we used 51% of the water we used the previous March.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Are there any more highlights you want to let us know that we haven't discussed or worth mentioning one more time?
Let's see. Those are the big ones. Everything else is just minor stuff.
Where are the new vehicles paid for? The new
vehicles
tool truck and whatnot. I assume that.
For utilities.
Yeah.
So they, through the,
That shared one?
should be the
It's in-
shared
it's in the
one,
shared
there's a
water.
portion in the buildings and facilities.
Line 29,
So,
Oh, right.
I'm thinking, I don't know.
What line is
that one's in
29?
the capital transfers for 5331.
No, that's just
Because
repair.
we're paying on
So
them.
those,
So
those are
line
actual-
36
36.
under shared.
yep.
Yeah. So then they go into the buildings and, in a way, it's going there. So those vehicles are sort of shared between
Yeah, there's a
those
percentage that
functions.
goes to buildings and facilities.
Mhm.
A small percentage, and then the rest is through the water and
Shared
wastewater
between
share.
water and wastewater evenly.
Yep.
Yep. Maybe there's a portion of just the 2012 F-250 that's shared with
Shared.
B&F, the plow truck. Yep.
So it is a big increase, and people are going to notice it, and I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll hear it. But how much? I mean, I completely understand it. How much will bringing on new users impact the rate that people are paying? The amount that they're paying, not the rate. Or will it?
It's gonna be the same rate unless if we had, well, I mean, that would be a good calculation to do, is does the number of users, potentially able to reduce the rates?
Right. Yep.
You would hope
I mean-
that
It should.
incrementally it could. If
Yeah,
you,
but
and
you
if
have that
don't
many
have
new
to add-
lines that are
Right.
gonna potentially break.
Yeah, they'd be new lines though, so.
Yeah, well, that's where our problems have been,
Yeah.
new lines.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty thorough in what I allow. You know, I'm looking for stainless, I'm looking for tracer wires. You know, the standards of what goes in now are a lot different than what when the standards were in '98.
And, I mean, it's not what you're deciding on the top of your head. Obviously, we have specs on
Right.
what we're following. So
Right.
you're just verifying they're meeting
Right,
those
we're
specs.
actually, enforcing that, hey, you will have this.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there'd be incremental costs because you're pumping more water, but the infrastructure's the same. And until
Right.
someday that you have to add another train of filters, the building cost would be the same.
Right.
I'm just thinking in terms of the bond right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how much more people would pay.
Well, we need to format it, our reserves, in my opinion, we need to format them so they, certain things are put into certain drawers, basically. And the allocation fees should be going towards that sort of thing.
Right.
And, the allocation fees are,
Significant.
it's something that needs to be formatted better. And I'm gonna, a lot of working with, the accountant and all to see if we can make that work. It's, the system's clunky and I've got to learn a lot of CPA stuff to try to see how I can help her, help me compartmentalize things.
Well, I think it would be, once we have this asset management plan, then we will, because essentially we have two funds. We have our capital reserve fund and we have the allocation fund.
Mhm.
And I don't know that we've ever really had a policy discussion on what the allocation fees should be
Right.
covering versus.
I mean, it seems like the majority of them, if not all of them, should go into the capital reserve.
should
Right,
be-
but so it all essentially becomes the same fund.
Right.
It
Yeah.
should be funding expansions necessary for new development. Really.
Well, the allocation, no, because they're paying.
For what we've
For-
already done.
Yeah, they're going to pay for new lines that go into new development. So
Right.
the allocation fee is not paying for that. It is paying to help maintain the system, really, I think. So that's why I think we really do need to
And-
come up with a plan of how we're going to be going back and upgrading all the piping that's in place already.
Yeah, and I think that allocation too is a recognition that a lot of people have paid to put
Yes.
this infrastructure in place, and by tapping onto it, you're helping to reimburse some of those costs.
Right, so, but then that brings up the question of if it's reimbursing some of those costs, should we be using some of that money to keep the rates lower?
And you could make a good argument that yes, and I think to do that intelligently would be to understand what we need in capital,
Yes.
and be able to really estimate that as accurate as we can, and then use some of it for that capital, and then if we're where we want to be for capital, the remainder should go back to reducing the rates.
This increase recommendation actually does take in account some allocation money towards that bond, but at about 30%. I didn't want to go too high because I don't want to count allocation chickens before they're hatched. The allocation forecast is just that, a forecast. It's hard to so I didn't want to. The good thing about that is if we end up with more, it's we've got more reserve.
More reserve, and then we could make a decision to
Right.
reduce rates.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess it'd be good to kind of keep that on the table, and because we're not going to set the allocations tonight, but when we'll have that discussion, or maybe we're having that discussion now.
We need to have a discussion, and we need
Next
to.
meeting,
Right, but I mean,
Right.
Right.
we're talking about the budget
Right.
now, so
Yeah, right.
we should wait and.
Right. Yep.
Any other questions on the budget? We could have a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the budget for water and wastewater as
For
presented.
Fiscal year
for fiscal
2019.
19, as presented.
Second.
Okay. More discussion? I have one item I wanted to bring up. So, we are concerned about I think we all had a heart attack last time when we heard 19%. That sounds terrible. And, it is explainable that it is the bond, primarily the bond that was voted forward and necessary. We've had some good news that besides the water tasting better in some opinions, I think most, those that were softening, and that does help reduce some costs and the degradation of hot water tanks and all that. So that's a positive story. So
Absolutely.
I would ask Eric and or the town administrators, and I certainly would help, to put together a communication that says, we're voting the budget, wastewater is not going up, water is 19%, here's why, and just to sort of get out ahead of it. And it'd be nice to, I think the Citizen had something in there about the budget, potential budget, so it might be nice to, a couple of paragraphs to sort of explain it. Because there is good news in there. I mean, 19% seems terrible, and it is, but there's a story behind it too. That it is, some people, and I wouldn't blame them, they might be looking at all these water breaks, and that's why it went up. Well, no, actually, it's not the reason it went up.
I would point out though that, Lyman Meadows is not benefiting from all of this upgrade.
No, they're not, and some have said, hey, what about, why do we pay for this? But there's been a lot of breaks over there, and there's gonna be a lot more breaks over there. And I would caution them not to, try to separate
Right.
their costs, because it would probably not be good for them. Because they'd be much more susceptible to any kind of shocks of repairs, because that system over there is, well, it was just not, to be kind, it was not well constructed, nor did it use good materials. It was probably a mistake for us to take it on in the condition that it was. Which, I previously thought it'd been, wonderful to hook that system up to the town system at some point. Absolutely would not be possible unless we completely repipe the entire system. They couldn't handle the pressures. Yep. No way that pipe handles the pressures of the Hinesburg town system.
I mean, you could put pressure reducers in
You could.
between, right? I mean, you could.
You could.
That adds,
Yeah. It drives the cost up.
yeah.
Can you at all guess off the top of your head what kind of cost that would be to do that?
I'd have to.
Well, I think,
No, I could get an engineer to look at it. But
well, I think when we're
it's
doing the
huge.
asset management, I think it's important that we recognize that, quote, asset,
Oh, yeah.
and
be great,
how
for
we
sure.
can help to improve that. I mean, they are our customers, and we should be considering them as well.
Well, it sounds to me like this is potentially a goal that we can set for ourselves. If this is what we want to do,
Right.
that's something we should probably talk about, because it is true that people ask about this and are concerned about this. There's a lot of customers there.
Absolutely.
And the well, is that at all an issue, the well
It's-
that's there?
It's good water. It is also hard water. It didn't have any of the contamination that the town well, the other
Right.
town well did. It actually scored very well in the tasting contest as well. But it's hard. So there are people with softeners in that part. But it's a very clean source. It's just, it's typical Vermont, mountain spring water. It's full of mineral.
Okay.
It's good for your insides, not necessarily good for your Keurig or your water heater.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the fiscal year 19 water and wastewater budget, say aye.
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 Aye, and none opposed, so that passed. Thank you for that. So I think putting out a communication, does that seem like a reasonable idea?
So Phil, when you say communication, do you mean a letter? including
I
mail,
think like,
or-
what's the word when you say?
Press release.
A press
Post.
release, kind of a thing. And that, it could go in Front Porch Forum, it could be offered to the citizen.
And certainly, we'll want to put it in the next bill.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know
Yes,
if I'd go to the
right,
citizen.
right.
I would just
in the next bill, I
to
think,
the
yeah.
customers, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I had thought of that, put it in the bill, yeah?
I think it's a good idea, Phil, because we are quite some time removed from the actual construction and the passing of the bond.
That was a while.
It's
Right.
what, 2
Yeah.
years at least?
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah, it's been-
right,
yeah,
It's been a while.
yep. So, I mean,
But
Yeah,
be
they-
sure to say the good news.
absolutely.
Right.
So set up mostly for a bill stuffer, which we're stuffing that bill anyway with the consumer confidence reports as well.
okay,
So
all right, that sounds good.
put it all in there.
You gotta put that in first and then the explanation later.
Yeah. Good. I mean, the CCRs have to go at this next time for sure, or the state will slap my hand, so.
So you're saying nothing in the Citizen or the Record then? Or
They might
Porch
pick it up,
Forum?
they might pick up on it. I think Tom's right, yeah, I think Front Porch
A
Forum
front
might be
porch forum,
something.
though, I
Yeah,
think would be.
be a reasonable place.
Okay.
Because it is a little complicated, and I'm not sure if Front Porch Forum would have enough space to really explain it. Like you say, the first thing people see is, oh, 19% increase must be from all those water breaks, and
Yeah.
that's not the case.
If the citizen picks up, I'll have to have them adhere to whatever I write because they
Yes, I
Yeah.
they kind of messed up the last one.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed
That is
that.
an important correction that we don't,
Yeah.
that, yeah, I don't know.
Did you send any corrections to that, or just?
I put a comment on it,
You did?
yeah, publicly, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, just, I corrected it in the comment section, so if you read comments, you'll see that
Oh.
There
clarification,
was another mistake in there too. From a different project
yeah.
about where the contractor was from. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
yes.
I'm like, where did you come up with
Oh,
that?
Barry or
So
something?
yeah, it's a little frustrating,
Yeah,
some of this stuff.
it's okay. You get at the highest levels of journalism as well. So.
Is there a high level?
Well, I'm just saying, global circulation folks mess it up too.
Right.
Yeah.
all right, the next item, which is still, no, it is the next item on the agenda, number 6, is discussion of the water and wastewater allocation. And this is something that we do every
Actually, hold
year.
on. Did you
Oh.
want to do the rates while we're here?
We have to,
Well, we have to approve it.
okay,
Right.
yes, then I would. Just checking to see who's paying attention. Thank you, Eric.
No problem.
So do we, so you have the rate sheet? Is that?
It's on the,
That's right,
in
on
his
the
memo.
memo.
Oh,
at the
okay.
bottom,
Right?
the motions.
Yep, the amendment, there's the recommended motion.
There
right
you go.
So people are billed per cubic foot.
Yeah, the first 500 are with their base charge for water. And then it's per foot after that, which is basically
Right.
per 7.5 gallons.
And a lot of users don't even go over the 500.
Some don't.
The base.
Right,
Yeah.
some do not. Yep.
And what does that 500 cubic feet translate to in gallons, so people can have a,
7.5
7.5
gallons
gallons per foot.
Right.
cubic foot.
So
so,
3,500 or so.
7 times
4,000.
5,
3,500
more than that. A
gallons.
little more than that.
Yeah.
3,750.
So we'll need a motion?
Oh, I do. I had a question is why is the unmetered less?
It's not. Now, they still pay the base charge. And the unmetered is set at the rate at 150 gallons a day.
Oh, okay.
So I'm using an average residential usage, you know.
Okay,
From what we've
got
seen
it.
and experienced. And just
So is that our average or a state?
that's more of our average.
It is. So it's a pretty reasonable
Right.
number.
How many homes are out there besides mobile homes that don't have meters?
Very few and getting less all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like very few, like
I
a
don't-
dozen? Or? 100.
Probably one hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is very
The
good.
mobile homes, I mean, the mobile home parks are not
Metered together.
by us anyway.
Right, well,
It's a
single
one-
mobiles are.
Like,
But
not
not the mobile home
meters.
parks.
Right,
By the
right, the
parks.
parks, right.
Right.
So they have one big meter.
They're
Is
master
there
meter.
one big, okay, there is a
Mobile
master.
homes
So
are
we
master
just
meter.
charge the landlord.
Right,
Right,
And-
okay.
yeah, we don't maintain the pipes or anything inside the parks.
Right.
Yeah, but there's, there's onesies, twosies here and there that,
Mm-hmm.
we don't meter those because they just break.
Right.
So it's fair to say if you're metered, obviously that's as fair as possible.
Right.
But unmetered is the most fair we can come up with,
Right.
reasonable.
Yep.
And then the wastewater's not changed from the previous
Not a bit.
year.
Right,
So
so we're
we need
looking for a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the following rates for water and wastewater for fiscal year 2019. Water is $99.57 per unit per quarter for both metered and unmetered. And .044 per cubic foot per quarter usage fee for metered. So above the 500 cubic feet that comes with your base fee of $99.57, you will be charged for .044 for additional, and $76.53 per quarter usage fee for the unmetered. On wastewater, it's $98.83 per unit per quarter, both metered and unmetered, and .0355 or dollars, actually, per cubic foot per quarter usage fee for the metered, and $64.07 per quarter usage fee for the unmetered, which is unchanged from fiscal year 18. So that's my motion.
you.
And
Get that down?
and what we maybe didn't say on the record was that this will result in $25.03 increase per quarter on people's water. Thank you very much for your crib sheet. Or $1.95 per week.
Is there a second? Yep. Which one is it now? Did Aaron second it or Marilee? Okay.
Quicker on the buzzer.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so that motion passed. Thank you. Yeah, right. So the next item is to talk about the allocation capacity for both water and wastewater. Eric put together the Appendix E for both of those ordinances, and Appendix E gets modified each year.
Which number is that?
Is that number 6?
Number
6.
6A.
And so there's one for water and one for wastewater. And in the beginning of it, this has some how we got to where we are.
Tom, did you find it?
No, I didn't.
Would you like
6A
a
is
copy
something
of this?
different on mine.
Okay, well, here, I have hard copies ready.
Perfect. And so with that section, the beginning section of that Appendix E sort of shows you where we come up with what can be allocated. And for both of those, and in the past, and I think it's in the ordinance, right? That says we will have as a minimum 5,000 gallons in category 1 and category 2.
Right.
for both.
The category one, I believe, has a primacy, 5,000 or all remaining. Is the
Right.
minimum- as a minimum.
So that's like
And
the
then
top
category two is-
priority.
Has the same in, after that. So that's why I've got just 5,000s in parents there, just as a reminder that it has to be at least that in those totals. If we have it, which we do.
So in the water, we have allocable capacity of 31,000 gallons per day. That is after what's been taken out for approved projects already,
Yep.
and a 10% reserve.
Right. Formerly, we had a 5% reserve. I just felt it prudent to pop it up to 10. Just, we had
Seems
experienced
reasonable. Yeah.
some breaks and stuff. And,
Yeah.
we're doing good now, but you never know. So
It will
I
change.
bumped it up to 10.
And then on the wastewater side, same process. We don't need a reserve there, apparently, huh?
No, it's it's receiving versus production.
Yeah,
You
you get what you get.
Exactly.
But it also has the 5,000 for the Category 1 municipal educational institutions, Category 2.
Can I ask a question though, when you said, it's not about production, but, let's say we were at capacity, and every once in a while we do have overflows where we just charge more than
Well,
we're
this-
permitted, right?
I mean, by volume, no. We've had burps of, by like on phosphorus nutrient,
Okay.
but not by volume. We have
Okay.
had some, like this year, we actually was a very high volume year compared to last year. So that all that does is it shrinks your allocation capacity. We lost about 25,000 gallons from previous, just because of it being such a wet year.
Yeah, I guess I'm still concerned, I'm concerned about trying to figure out why we have, and I guess, why we have so much more water going into our wastewater treatment plant than we have being pumped for water. And so,
Infiltration.
Yeah,
right, we've
infiltration,
talked about
inflow.
that, but that's where I would like to see a plan
Right.
Yeah.
of
And-
how we're gonna
And actually,
deal with
I
that.
was discussing with one of the engineers that was about to, that was getting his stuff together to put up, his
propose.
RFP
Yeah.
forward for the plant. And he asked, it's like he actually asked and suggested that, especially with when you're talking about getting state funding, an I&I study should be part of the project.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
actually-
I mean,
I
I think
agree.
to me,
that's
Yeah.
a good place to.
I don't
that's
want
a
to
good-
start on any kind of project until we really have a,
So that's
We've
probably a good-
minimized,
That's a good place to
yeah,
actually put
infiltration.
that, is in that,
yes,
the front end of that project.
yeah, okay.
Are there homes that aren't on the water system that are on the sewer?
Yes, and vice versa.
Mine is.
Yep. Yep, there are some of each.
So
But not very
probably
many.
not enough to make a difference in the flow.
Well, no.
How many would be?
I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but there are definitely more on the water and not sewer than vice versa.
Okay, yeah,
There's not a lot of sewer-only users.
yeah.
There's quite a few water-only users, but not a lot of sewer-only users. You guys are pretty unique. Yeah. So, there's not that many. There's quite a bit the other way around.
Because we've gone up to the,
Yeah.
You know,
Everything
hooked
past
people up.
Iroquois,
yeah,
all of 116 north. Those were
yep,
all-
right.
those were
Just
all
Water
only.
users, yeah.
It's all water only.
So
So
is
that
looking
makes it
into this.
even more weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, right,
Right.
Yep, there's a lot of.
yeah.
There's a fair amount of infiltration and a lot of inflow.
So on our, on our allocation thing, what does, how many, could we get a calculation of how many single-family homes that 31,643 gallons per day translates to in terms of allocations? Because,
Well, you can, on the water, you divide it by
right, but let's
150
let's
per
have that
bedroom.
written down.
Yeah.
The potential
I don't have my-
capacity. So if we got 31,000 and we hold 10, then we're down to 21,000.
No, he's already done that
It's already done that.
with a 31.
Yeah, the 31's below, the math's already been done on the 10%.
That 19,350.
The 10% reserve, but then there's 10,000 for category 1 and
Oh,
category
right.
2.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we're down to
21.
21,000 gallons, and a single family home,
Well, I haven't, my phone's out in the truck.
is that 750 gallons a day?
It'd be 450 for a 3-bedroom home.
Right, but let's not do it. I mean, I'm fine with doing it right now, but I'd like to look at it in a chart and understand, you know, how many single-family homes we would do allocations for, how many, you know, 3-bedroom, single-family, how many congregate housing it would be, and commercial. Commercial is a little bit
Well,
fuzzy.
that's hard to calculate without knowing how many of each you're looking for.
Yes, but I just think seeing a chart that has that and then understanding, because we're gonna ultimately end up with probably some kind of phasing policy. And I think it would just be helpful to understand whether we're going to prioritize, you know, 3-bedroom homes,
One type
multifamily,
over another, yeah.
senior housing.
So just so,
we can-
3-bedroom homes is roughly 50.
Right.
So it would be good to sort of say, this at 21,000, you know, that equals 50 single, or X amount multi.
Yes.
Obviously, commercial's kind of hard to say,
Right.
but
So you're-
typical
so
commercial,
you're just talking about for category 3.
yes,
Okay.
yep, yeah.
And that's
Just to
and
sort of
that's
say, this
assuming-
is what it means, you know. Obviously, you can mix them up however you want to
Right,
mix them
that's
up.
assuming you're only putting the 5,000 in 1 and 2.
Right.
Two.
Right, and a lot of the commercial would already
Be covered under the 5,000.
Some could be in there.
Some could
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a fair amount, so.
Yeah.
So I guess I
I mean, yeah.
have
So-
to understand what, you know, the left and right limits of this chart is, because it's like, there's a lot of mix going on here. You can't,
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I
I
think
wouldn't. I
it's
wouldn't
just-
mix it. Just say,
just-
here's what the amount. If you just did one category, here's what you'd get. If
so
you did one
31,000
category,
is this many,
single
3-bedroom
family,
homes.
yeah, or
it's-
this amount of multifamily homes, and then you know you could look at the commercial.
multifamily homes, it's all still counted the same way. It all depends on the bedrooms. I mean,
Right.
it's just purely by bedroom,
So maybe you do a mix, and so sometimes there's
you know.
2 bedrooms, and then
Yeah.
you know pick a typical project that we have that's existing, and say, you know, here's a multi-family complex, and it consists of this. So if you extrapolate that out, you know, here's
It's like
about.
having columns with all just the same number at the bottom. And then
Just it just gives you a feeling of capacity. And then on the commercial, maybe you take something like NRG or something else and sort of say, here's what they have.
Well, here's a low use NRG, here's a high use Frost.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because we have some
Right.
pretty extreme
That's true.
examples
So the-
of commercial.
It might be good to say, here's what Frost is, here's what NRG is.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then in our back of our minds, we could say, oh, this means 2 Frosts and 3 NRGs or something, or
Right.
only 1 Frost. I don't know.
Because then the question comes down to, in category 3, do we do it just one lump sum? and-
Or divide it up.
Or divide it up into each of those districts,
Yeah.
which that's, I think there's a lot to think about on that. on how we go about doing that.
Yeah, it would make sense to me to divide it up, or we might have one commercial enterprise come in and take all the water allocation. And then we'd be thinking, well, we wanted to have some houses to give water to as well. And
Or vice
Or
versa.
vice versa,
You don't
Yeah.
always want just housing, because housing is a push on the grand list,
that's right,
Right.
yeah.
you know. Business pays more than it takes.
Yep, so I
Sometimes.
like the idea
Right.
of getting categories and thinking what might go in each category.
So this is where we're gonna put together a committee to
Right.
kind of go over this. How best to move forward.
Right. And, I know that Williston has a lot of different criteria. I started looking at some of the ways that other towns do it, on how they do it. So it's not necessarily on where it is, it's what the project is. So in that, we could be looking at that.
We looked at the Williston model, and that seemed very much more of a planning and zoning type setup.
Wow.
And was way more convoluted than we really need to do it in
But I
Hinesburg.
think,
Well, I don't
think
know
we
that
need
it
to.
is. I mean, we have a much more limited resource.
Right. But
And-
I still think you can find a way to do that without it being that complicated.
Well, but I think it's an asset that the town has, and I think
Right.
we want to use that asset to promote the types of growth that we want. And therefore, this is the one way in which we can follow our town plan. And I think it's important that we have this discussion with planning and zoning.
Yeah.
It is a planning and zoning, but it happens to be controlled by us. So I think it's important that we really do understand what their thinking is, and maybe we could ask for a joint meeting or something. Talk about it.
I think that would be a good approach in that we're not trying to favor one over the other. Our plan is for mixed growth.
Right.
And we want to make sure that if this is all the allocation we have for the next 5 years, which it could be, that what comes in is balanced. And also we have some developers who are looking at this, and I think it would be maybe unfair, if it all went to just one.
Right.
So I think just taking a look at sort of what's coming down the pike. Obviously, people who have already been allocated have theirs on the water side. And then, I think taking a look at what's sort of on deck in front of us, and is there a reasonable mix that could allow the village to grow, if it is going to grow, I assume it will, in a balanced way.
I think it's also just important to remember that as those, the 7,960 gallons per day that are allocated, when that actually comes online, that will actually give us more to allocate, because they aren't ever using that much.
Right, that's right.
Right.
It
So
should
it's
grow
actually, instead
incrementally.
of it being a number that decreases, there's
It-
history shows
Right.
that
It expands
It'll
a little,
decrease less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Decrease on this hand and increase on that hand, and
yeah.
So while I'm not sure Andrea's example of Williston is necessarily one that matches
Right,
Hinesburg,
yeah.
I do think it'd be valuable just to not reinvent the wheel, to look at other towns that have limited capacity and see how they break it out. I'd rather tweak something that works than try to start from scratch.
Right.
That just seems
Yep.
tedious.
yep.
And what about having a conversation, asking the planning and zoning?
Oh, absolutely. I
come
think
in?
we should bring them
Okay.
in, yeah.
All right,
And whether it's Alex or, Alex and
the chair.
a chair, maybe.
Okay.
So are you guys still thinking of, so this was just starting the conversation this week. Are you still thinking that you may be ready to finalize it at the next meeting, or?
If,
What is your thoughts?
well, it might be hard to. I think we should try to do it as quickly as we can, in my opinion. And I would be, okay with having a couple select board members meet with Eric, planning, maybe the chair of
Okay.
the planning commission, just sort of, and if I was, I won't be there in the next 2 weeks, but if I was to be there, I'd say, what do we have coming down the pike? And what's that mix look like? And is that, meet our town plan? Maybe it does. That's good. And then allocate sort of for both things to, what's the town plan say we should be? What's coming down the pike? Can we find a place that fits and satisfies both to some extent?
So the reason I asked that is because it sounded like the last time I talked, we were going to start the conversation this week, but potentially finalize it at the next July meeting, the next June meeting. And then I told there's an applicant or applicants that perhaps at the first July meeting, we would review their applications. So I just wanted, if there's a change in that timeline.
I think we should at least have this meeting first and
Yeah.
and then report back at the next June meeting,
See how.
and then maybe make a decision in the
If we,
July meeting.
I mean, if we get that information quickly, we could make a decision, but maybe not. I mean, we may get it just in time for the meeting.
Yeah.
And this is annual.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
So the new wells coming online, things may change before applicants come in.
Right.
For the next,
Well,
Oh.
They would take a while, yeah.
By
yeah,
next
the
time.
well will be a while.
No, but I'm just saying
When it
it's an
does come
annual
online,
process.
there
Yeah.
would be more, obviously.
Right.
More available water.
I think what Eric is saying, our experience is, even if we have 21,000 to give out, let's say we keep the other ones the same, or 31,000, we give it all out, and and all they allocated, we gave that all out, and they're using it, and at the end of it, more than likely, we'll come back and say, guess what, we got a little more capacity,
Right.
because people don't
Even
tend to
without
use.
the new well.
Sure, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
'cause people come online and start using less than they're allocated.
Yeah,
So Meadow Mist by next year will be online.
Should be.
So
And they're allocated already?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially what I think most of that
for,
7960
oh, yeah,
is
right.
Yeah,
Meadow
it's a good
Mist.
bit. Let's see.
And I mean,
Well, there's Leo B-Saws.
yeah, Leo BSOs, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that seems
Yeah.
like a reasonable,
3570 is Meadow Mist.
And so,
Okay.
yeah, who are the other half of that then?
On the, so Energy has 830 of what was originally going to be
Okay,
residential.
yeah,
Let's see, Ramona Giroux and Commerce Park is
oh,
200.
Hannaford's,
yeah,
Yep,
I'm sure they're
200 of
allocated.
commercial.
which is pretty low.
Yep,
They really should, I mean, they're gonna be using more than what they're allocated.
probably. Green Street still has 780 out.
Okay,
Like I said, 3570 for Meadow Mist. Howard Riggs has enough for 2 3-bedrooms. Marie Smith has a 3-bedroom. Oh, actually, yeah, Martin Foods. So the other one is not them.
oh,
Commerce Park 15 is something else. That's only 200. Martin Foods is 2240.
oh, okay,
That's more.
yeah.
Is there more at, in the cheese factory?
They are. Let's see. Frost is. No, that's Frost.
No,
Foam?
the
Phone.
Phone.
Theirs is paid off.
Mm-hmm.
They're already on.
And because my understanding was there was, as
Phone was probably going to look for an expansion.
Vermont Smoke and Cure continues to grow, I think.
They're looking for an expansion too.
Yeah.
Probably. They're not.
Well,
they don't
those are gonna
have
be in
one
the
yet.
category 2,
Yeah,
Yep.
but they can, yeah,
Yep. They'll both be looking for expansions.
well, I think this idea of
Okay.
this approach is similar to the committee approach. I think maybe, I'll just put 2 select board members, Eric, Alex, and someone from the planning commission, and it could be the chair, to meet separately on this
okay.
and see if they can come up with a proposal.
I think Tom and I were
Yeah.
originally. of course, this
I was
is a
hoping,
terrible
Tom,
time
you
for
would
us.
consider that, yeah.
Sure is.
But are you willing to do it?
Yeah, it wouldn't be that long.
No. we
No.
don't
Depending
need-
on, certainly depends on the
Yeah,
day, but
okay,
no, we
right.
could do that.
Okay,
That would be, I think, ideal, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
And, you know, I think, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, you know, a reasonable, I think, like I said, something that sort of, we want to acknowledge people coming down, looking to develop, and they've got their plans in place, or they're working on it, to see if we can, you know, accommodate what is coming down, but yet sort of put it in some buckets that seem to be reasonable for the town. I think we all agree it all shouldn't just be one or at the exclusive category.
So you're saying for the draft, for the committee, to just do a draft split out of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
yeah,
and look-
and to understand what it
Yeah,
would
what
mean
it
in terms
means.
of number of
Yeah.
residential, number of, yeah.
Right, well, that'll,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think looking at category 1 and category 2 also, just, you know, are those reasonable?
Yeah,
Right, you don't need to have just 5,000, that's just,
Yeah.
that's.
yeah,
That's
because
what-
Smoke and
that's
Cure
the
right
minimum.
now is using 4,500 gallons per day.
So
That's
they may
their
need,
average.
yeah.
And that's Smoke and Cure, and the Creamery's using 2,400 gallons per day.
And I don't want to speak for anyone else, but in my opinion, it feels like, you know, if we've got some existing businesses that want to continue to grow, I'm sure their water use is as efficient as can be because they're brand-new facilities.
Mhm.
And,
That's something you encourage.
yeah, I would think so. That sound reasonable? So I think it would be our best hope that we would vote next time, but I think realistically in July. But have
So our
something,
meeting in July is July 5th.
Yeah.
and so we'd have something
We'd had something for the 21st
to talk
to
about.
talk about, and then
Yeah.
vote on it on the
Our
5th.
meeting's
Yeah.
the 21st. I might not be here for that meeting.
Oh, and you
I
might-
won't be
On
here.
the 21st.
I'll call in.
I'm gonna be, I think I'm in Bennington, Brattleboro. I'll be coming back from Brattleboro that day.
Okay.
So that's the meeting you're saying that we could review the applications?
Yeah, we
that
could
are on
talk
the
about
table?
it. Yep.
No,
No.
no,
No. No. We would review
What-
potentially
what-
from the
what we
committee.
come
Guys
up
have
with.
come up
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
can still discuss it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
not be here.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Start looking at applications, like,
Yeah.
it sounds like the second July meeting.
Yeah, well, we do the the first July meeting, ideally
Yeah, 'cause
vote on the
I'll be on the
allocation.
road with-
Right.
The second meeting, the second one in July, approve
Approve
any,
the newer
any
applications.
applications
Okay, that's
that
right.
are
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Should we consider moving the June solstice 21st meeting to another day when you both might be here?
I won't be here, so I'll call in. So I will be here, but I'll be calling
But I
in.
mean, will you be back from?
No.
Yeah, the public hearing is set for the June meeting, right, the last June meeting.
Yeah, we've
not
already
July.
Yes,
Okay.
right,
Yeah,
Can't
so,
move that date.
Okay.
It's cast in stone.
okay? Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
You're more than welcome to stay longer if you want.
Well, we'll also be talking about the wastewater one too, right?
Oh,
The
Yeah,
allocation,
you'll
we have
do
to
the
that,
same thing, yeah, on that, yep.
Right.
And thank you, Tom and Andrea, for being willing to do that.
Go home and pack to go to Connecticut tomorrow.
Next item on the agenda is number 7, approving the fire protection agreement with St. George. We had something in our packet, I looked at it, and it's kind of complicated. It seems I wasn't quite sure what it meant.
My question was, did it mean the same thing it meant last year?
Kind of.
You know what I mean?
So it's just it's a rough estimate of how much service they take, and it looked like it was right on.
So basically, what we've done in the past is, I mean, it's all based on a 1996 agreement. It's kind of been revised in the recent years to include what the total fire budget was and capital expenses. And then you factor in the population of Hinesburg, St. George, and per capita cost, and that's how they've come up with the figures. However, now as the fire department's budget has grown, the figure is really increasing a lot. And so we met with Maggie, the town administrator in St. George, and Al Barber as well, and just trying to come up with something that will seem a little more reasonable for them, because this would be a huge increase, the 30, what you see, the FY19. If we based it on the formula we've been using, that would be a significant increase. And so we need to come up with a new plan, a new formula, a new way of figure for them. And so we're gonna look and see what other towns that might have similar type of shared fire services, and see if there's something different that they do that might work better.
How they calculate it?
Yeah, how they calculate it. So what we tentatively are proposing to you is just to use the same figure, the 29,500 for this fiscal year, and then take this time to come up with something improved for the next year.
And Al felt that that would cover the cost.
Yes, yeah, he was comfortable with that.
Do we know what the costs have been to respond to the fires or accidents? I mean, it's not fires.
It's like 50, no, it's like 15, they said it seems to be 15% of what we have already, what's covered on ours. So if we were to take 15%, we'd come up with
15% of the time we're responding to St. George, or 15% of the calls?
Well, yeah, he had a list of all the calls and the type, and he did hand that to Maggie so she could look at it and
Yeah.
review it with her board too. And so I think that's information that we use as we kind of come up with form this little committee to do it. So maybe there'll be a select board member or two that want to be part of it from here and from St. George, as well as Al and us and Maggie, to see if we can come up with a new formula, a new method of.
But does
Well,
the new formula mean that Hinesburg's gonna pay more and St. George is gonna pay less? I mean,
No, I think just a new way of getting it a more accurate reflection of the time that's spent there, or looking at other towns to see what they do. Maybe the formula that we have existing is the right thing, but I think it just gives us a little more
So,
information to look at other towns.
so we're looking at, is it this use 29.5? Is that what we're,
29.5 is what we're proposing to continue. That's what we did last year that we
And-
charged.
and
the
this,
previous year.
I think
and-
you guys had you probably had discussed this at other, in
Yes.
past years.
Yep.
Because if you look at FY17, it would have been, estimate would have been 32,432.56.
Okay.
FY18 would have been 34,614.
if we did the same
If we
percentage?
did that same thing.
Yeah. So if we look at 29.5, it's say 30.
Yeah.
And if we look at the actual budget, 317, even if I just go 300, it's less than 10%
Yeah. It-
of the budget.
it
Of
looks-
that budget,
Right.
not the fire association, which kicks money in too, right? So it's just the town budget. And their population is about 13%. It is, obviously, they're not gonna get the response as quick, probably, maybe. They're actually closer than some areas.
places
Yeah.
Hinesburg. I think that's a.
And is it automatically dispatched to Hinesburg every time? If they dial 911, I assume Hinesburg rolls.
Hinesburg would be the closest one.
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Do we know if St. George is shopping this?
They aren't at this point. I mean, obviously, if we can't come with something that's seems affordable to them, maybe that's a consideration, but they're very happy with the service that they have. They're just.
Because they got the best
Fine.
fire department and police department next door.
Right. So they're just interested in having this conversation.
if you go strictly by the numbers, maybe Phil already said this when I was typing in, but it comes up to, based on population, 42,157.
What
At
does?
13% of the
Oh,
population, if you
and not
divide
at
the
the,
number,
not at what, how I did it, you're saying?
if you divide 317,122, or if you multiply that times 13.2%, you
I
come
see
up
what you're
with
saying.
42,000.
Okay, because we did it as
157.
an average of 5 years to come up, if you look at the 279, 329 in the FY nineteen, just at the bottom where it says FY nineteen,
So those are 5-year average.
that's a
Yeah,
5 year,
okay.
instead of just taking the straight 1 year,
Right.
we took it based on 5 to get to the 37. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But still, the per capita cost is anywhere from 43 to 55.
Right.
So, I mean, so I'll argue on the other side, only just to sort
Yeah.
of make a point. So when they pay their percentage, a portion of that percentage is going to capital stuff that Hinesburg has, the new truck we bought, and other things. And next year we could say we don't want them, or they might go somewhere else. So, you know, there is a portion of it that is claimed by us. So I think what you're saying, Renee, is after talking with Al, to let's move forward with sort of where we are now, and that the thought is for next year there'll be a much closer and come up with some formula that you can apply from going forward.
Right. Yeah,
Because now we're tweaking the formula a
Right,
little
exactly.
bit.
Right now, we aren't really working from a formula. And that, it hasn't been for the last few years.
How long have they been doing this?
Since, 1996 is the agreement that was referenced
Oh.
initially, yeah.
Okay. And Al was okay with this.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and if they weren't part of us, then our budget would be even more.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Right.
I
We-
think it's,
Well, I mean, because we have the infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
I mean, it does cost us every time they respond, but it's a
Right.
very small in comparison to having a fire truck ready to go.
right, yeah, the cost to respond, but it's this
Yeah.
infrastructure, it's having all this
More if we didn't have.
equipment.
Well, and
Right,
Al also mentioned we'd still be responding based on mutual aid.
because we're
Right.
Right.
close by, so.
So, you know, I think I'm all right with moving forward, but I think what we want to do is come up with some formula
That's fair to
that,
both.
yeah, that we don't have to negotiate every year. We go, this is the formula
Right.
going forward. And it seems like it's minimal right now, unless there's a other way of looking at it. But if you look at per capita
Right,
Per capita.
and number of,
The call record.
right,
yeah.
I think if they pair up well,
And I think if we have something that's very clear to both sides, to both of us, everybody can plan for it in their budget. And so at this point, they haven't been able to plan. They've been using this 29,500 figure because we haven't been tied to a formula lately in the last few years. And so we just need to come up with something
yeah.
that's,
So why is this coming up now? Don't they do their budget in?
you know, it sounds
March?
like that, I don't know if you guys had this discussion last year at this time. It looks like that Trevor and Maggie had started working on something last year, but they didn't end up coming up with something,
I actually have it here.
the draft,
Yeah.
yeah.
So in our budget, we must have said, here's what we expect to get.
So I suspect you guys maybe looked at this draft, or at least or maybe Maggie looked at it, because she wrote some comments on the draft that we found. So I think there was a discussion in place, and she said that they just never got to finish that conversation. So whether it went to either of the boards, I'm not sure.
so you really need a motion tonight on this?
Well, this would just be an initial one, and then the St. George Select Board's also gonna be looking at it too.
Their select board is.
Yeah, their Select Board. I mean, if you guys have questions, you have concerns, or something that you don't feel, we can certainly pass that on as well.
Like I said,
When
I
do they
think
pay?
that's what I was kind of
About
curious.
now.
Well,
For
by the
last
end-
year?
For the end, by the end of the fiscal year, for this.
So-
So they will be paying us the 29.5, because that's what they,
That's what they were paying for the last time, but this is going to be, whatever we decide now is the invoice that they'll pay by the end of June.
oh.
So we budgeted.
But yeah, but, so that's
Or is this
this
the
fiscal
FY19?
year,
This
is
we're talking about
FY19.
19.
They paid FY
So the FY,
18 as 29.5.
We-
No, sorry,
No.
no, it's not. We, FY 18, so they will pay, I think it's 29.5.
So they don't pay till the end of the year.
right,
And
end
the
of
fiscal year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So we budgeted 28,000
oh,
in our budget.
from there. Oh, okay.
I wonder where we got that figure.
I know, but we shouldn't tell them.
No.
Yeah, so should I make a motion then that we accept, we'll accept a payment of 29,500 for fiscal year 19?
I think that's it.
For fiscal year 19.
Yeah,
Fiscal year
which is
18.
what we voted on in March, was fiscal year 19.
Right, I know
Right,
that.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to figure out how,
For informational purposes, not-
how it works for them.
Right.
They have their bill for that they're gonna pay already.
Yes.
We're not talking about,
Right.
that's what I would assume.
But they are gonna be setting their tax rate,
that's what they.
That's
they're
true.
deciding.
just like we
Right.
will, so they wanna know
Yeah, okay.
what they should, what their bills, yeah, so what they budget, I wonder what they budgeted for their what did they budget in their budget when they voted on in March for this?
The 29, I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
29.5 was in their
Yeah.
town report.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel comfortable making that, but then really the issue is that for fiscal year 20, we want to have a new formula.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we go to work on that, I mean, we certainly could have a select board member there, Al, their folks, and see if we can come up with something that we can go forward with. And you know, maybe they want to make a commitment that says, you know, we'll commit, you know, going forward, which would be good for everybody, I think.
Well, the formula was based on our budget.
Right.
But they didn't count on our budget going up so much.
Right.
All right, so did we have a motion?
I made a motion.
Is there a second?
Second it for you.
All right. More discussion on the fire protection agreement with St. George? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and none opposed, so that motion passed. Item 8, Town Administrator Report. And we have that one item on there we want to talk about, plus the report.
So what do we want to start with?
Whatever you want.
We've got so we added to the agenda the letter of intent to participate in the Municipal Roads Grants and Aid Program, and that I explained to you is the same, this will be the second year of the program. We, in the current year, they had identified different hydrologically connected roads. And so all out through the state of Vermont, they identified the roads in each town, and so Hinesburg has certain segments of roads, and we chose 2 segments in this current fiscal year to work on, and so the highway department is completing their work on those segments, and now if we sign this letter of intent, we would be intending to participate in this program again for a second year, and so then we could choose another segment or 2 of roads to work on for FY19.
So this will be the second year we've done
Yes.
this. There was some discussion to begin with was, all right, we didn't really warn this, do we need to? I think it's fair to say this is an administrative action. Really has no cost to the town. It's a program we plan to participate in and continue to as long as it's available.
So there's a 20% local match, and it can be in kind, which is what we've done.
Yeah.
Is that Mike's crew, and they've been doing the work.
And the assumption is Mike and his crew want to move forward with this.
Yes, yeah.
Helps them improve our infrastructure.
So I'll make a motion that we sign the letter of intent with the Agency of Transportation?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
All right, so we
Why
have
don't you have that one, Marilee?
Marilee, I think, has it.
What's that?
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed, so that motion passed. So we need 3 signatures, is
Three
that right?
signatures on this one,
All
yeah.
right.
And the next one doesn't need any of your action. This is the notice of intent for our municipal roads general permit. So we'll be filling this out and sending in the fee. That's,
What is the fee?
it's, let's see. Should have that memorized. Admin processing fees, $240. There's an application review fee of $400.
I thought it was going to be more, but,
I think this is just the application
oh,
fee.
okay, all
Yeah.
right.
And
But
then we put aside money
for
in
the
our capital
permit,
planning for that, yeah.
okay.
Permit that says all your roads.
And then going on the items that we talked about for the town administrator report, we had the Preservation Trust of Vermont assessment of town hall, so that happened and in your packet.
Yeah,
his
that was a
assessment.
good write-up. I think it was well
Yeah.
worth doing. Thank
Right.
you. It said, gee, let's find somebody who can do slate roof and
Right.
do a yearly maintenance
Yeah.
and we'll get,
Right.
dozens more years out of it.
So we're going to be checking into some of the contractors that they've selected.
recommend,
That they
yeah.
recommend and see who might be a good fit to look at ours. But it's good, it gives us a little priority list of the things that we need to, pay attention to first and put money towards. And so it'll be helpful in our budgeting process as
Yes.
well as just doing some
So,
maintenance.
and I think it would be good in the budgeting process
Mm-hmm.
to identify 2 or 3 things that we want to do, that if we're able to find a contractor
Right.
for the roof, we just say, okay, that's part of the ongoing maintenance and
Right.
make sure we can absorb that. But if there's 1 or 2 of those improvements that were recommended, we could put that in and I think you're both working with Eric and
Uh-huh.
that team, right?
Right.
Looking at it. So that's good. Yeah, it was a good report.
And so we've been putting some money together in our capital for town hall things. And
Yeah.
so we can look at what do we have in there and then based on what these expenses would cost and see how much more we need to
Yeah.
start applying towards that.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I think that was really valuable, and like the report said, this is a valuable building. It's a
Absolutely.
historic building, and
Yeah,
it seemed like the most significant cost would be taking off the vinyl siding.
Yeah.
And he was
And
pretty
apparently
adamant
there's some,
about that.
Yeah.
nice carvings underneath it. So I'm looking forward to that happening.
yeah.
Well,
Thank
that
you.
was quite pricey though too. So
Right,
yeah.
right.
He
I
was
don't-
just talking about how the problems that
Yeah,
exist when
that-
we
from
cover
it.
up.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that there's more moisture that gets in there, so
Yeah.
it's actually creating problems to have the vinyl siding. Not
Yeah.
only covering them, but creating them.
Yes.
So, and then the highway department, this is something that Mike wanted us to bring up, is that they each year they collect scrap metal and they kind of wait until the prices are right and then they bring it in. And so they just recently had brought some in and received $3,200 in scrap metal. And he was wanting to know if he could use this towards purchasing some of the necessary supplies to outfit the new building that hadn't been factored in previously. I mean, obviously, he has a supplies line budget, so if he would use towards that, but anything above and beyond, if he could.
You should see the stove that's going into the kitchen. That's been the most talked about things that, I don't know, one of the most talked about things.
At the committee?
meetings.
Is it Bosch or something?
No, it's just a
No,
regular.
just a regular.
It's just a regular stove, but there was some,
Was the hood.
the hood,
Hood.
that it has to be ventilated,
Yeah.
and it's.
Because it's a tight building and
Why don't
yeah.
we show some
So we had to
Yes.
get we had to get
Yeah,
a waiver.
that would be
or
good.
something
Yeah,
and not
I
use-
put some on this. Why don't we
Yeah.
look
Yeah,
at some
I-
pictures while we're.
Yes.
Oh, yes, well,
How
we're
does
talking
that
about the
sound?
highway garage.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, that seems reasonable. I think a new building is
It's a
gonna,
great color,
you
though.
know,
Just
require,
Click over here and then it'll take
I don't
that.
know, and
There you go. Okay. It's not the best lighting,
So
but
that's, yeah, an interior view, you can see the firewall.
Firewall.
This is
Yeah.
kind of it's not a great picture.
yeah, it's not. Sorry,
I
my
mean, it looked better before.
my.
It
It's
looks
just
better
this,
on
it's
my
just this
computer.
projector, it's
Yeah.
not how it is, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's the admin wing. The siding's not on yet. And that's inside. The admin wing.
that's
And that's
a
a really
terrible
dark picture,
Sorry,
yeah.
it did, once
That's
again,
all right.
it didn't look so
In
bad.
that
on-
darkness is another view of the firewall.
firewall, yeah.
We tried.
Say, and there's a nice one for,
That's from
Standing up on the
above.
mezzanine.
Yeah.
And I think the firewall is gonna have some roll-down doors that
Yes.
have probably a fusible link that shuts, that protects it.
And you can see how those roll down doors are framed on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so it's going well, it's
going well.
It's on, it's timely, it's no, big issues at this point?
No, I mean, they've been, you know, any issues that happened were addressed and
Yeah,
so.
that's good.
Yeah.
So I think, what you're asking is this additional money that would normally just go back to the budget, I
Just go in,
guess.
which, yeah.
Seems like a reasonable
What
request.
Missy has put it in is, I mean, and she's basically, I think, put it in miscellaneous income
Mm-hmm.
for, it was in, so. He just.
That wasn't returnables they were picking up on the side of the road, was it? I know, yeah. I mean,
I'll make a motion that the highway department is authorized to use the money from scrap metal to purchase needed supplies and furnishings for the new highway garage.
I'll second that.
Up to the money that, the money received from,
Specify.
3,200,
from
yeah,
the return of scrap metal.
yeah.
This year.
3,200.
Yeah.
So Aaron seconded, it. And I would guess some of these are blade
Culverts and
replacements.
different things like
yeah,
that.
things that they
Oh,
return.
yeah. I thought you
No,
meant the
right, but I
scrap
mean,
metal.
you know, all those blades that wear, that whatever's
Yeah.
left, they probably save it all up and,
Right.
okay. All right, all those in,
If they just take the entire existing.
I was wondering, you just drag that
Well, they
down.
will have
They will.
more.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. That's
what I'm
definitely will
thinking.
have.
Yeah.
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 Right.
And the price is going up.
And that will be in next year's budget.
Sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're not taking it down till August
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah. And then they'll probably store it until the price is
Yeah.
right for the metal.
Yeah.
so all those in favor say aye?
aye.
Aye, so none opposed, that passed. Any more on the administrative report?
We've got the update on Gilman Road property.
So that it continues, or is it pretty much
It
done?
continues.
It does, okay.
Yep.
There's a lot of progress that's been
Yeah.
made.
All the buildings are down. We are now looking to see if we can find someone to do some brush hogging,
Okay,
to just make sure that where the high grass has grown up over the last month and a half, we could knock it down and make sure there's no trash
yeah,
there. We're getting really close.
okay.
Part of
Good.
the problem has been getting the waste to haul the way, not getting the work done,
Mm-hmm.
as I understand it.
Well,
They're only allowed 2 a day or something like that.
I think that, I mean, that's been a stumbling block of the
Yeah.
timing of the
Hauling the,
there's been a lot more debris there. You're right to an extent for sure, but there's more there than I think
Anyone.
any one of us could have fathomed.
How many cars are left on the premise?
None.
That's good to hear.
All 6 are gone.
And
There's an
what
extra.
is,
What do we get for the scrap metal for those?
We
Yeah.
don't.
Oh,
and what is the plan once we're done the
Pay us
work?
back.
Bait it
She has to
once
pay us
again to
back.
make sure that all of the rats are gone.
Could you repeat your question?
So
Sorry.
once all the work is done,
Yeah.
I think we have to go back and bait it, correct? Isn't that part of the court order?
That's
And
why
what's
we
the
were
plan
talking
there?
about knocking down the brush.
Yeah.
Because once the brush is gone and there's no place for rats to have a habitat,
Yeah.
then rats will not have a habitat. They need water and cover and
Yeah,
you know,
they
a
can
place
have
to
that.
eat.
So will there be one last baiting to make sure that everything is?
That's a good question.
Isn't that part of the court order?
I don't believe that's part of the court order. Please don't quote me on that because
Yeah.
I will read
I
that
don't,
again.
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah,
but
I
can you
don't
follow
either.
up on that?
I
Yeah,
will
we're certainly
happily
looking
follow
for-
up
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Yes,
We've got it.
and we could check into that.
Yeah,
And,
thank
and the brush hogging would help that if that needs to happen anyway,
Right,
because that was,
right.
that's why they couldn't
Yeah.
continue baiting
Yeah.
over there, because the grass had gotten too high.
I'm sure you're crossing every T and dotting every I as
Been
much
trying.
as you can, so we're making progress, and that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Let's see, the RFQs for the wastewater plant.
Oh, that's all
They're
been,
due
yeah,
at 1 o'clock on Monday. And so we'll need to have form a little committee to review those. So hoping to have maybe a select board member or two, if they could help out with that.
yeah, so
Eric?
I'm out of town. I
You're out of
would-
town all
Otherwise, I
next week.
would have done it
Okay,
for the next 2 weeks.
okay, okay. And, you know, talking to Wayne, it would be good to have a quick turnaround on the committee's decision. So I think there's we haven't received any yet, but there's people that have been looking at the plant. And so I think there's a total of 6 in the state that can do this type of work. So we'll see how many we get in by Monday at 1.
And when would you do the review, right then and there?
Either right then and there, or perhaps Tuesday. I think Eric may be out on Monday, so he was hoping to have at least Eric and John to be
Yeah.
part of that committee as well. So Tuesday would be ideal for that.
But we
So if
also want to
anyone-
have some conversations with the people that have been.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And have, like,
Yeah.
whether they do a presentation and then we have a Q&A to follow to make sure that it all works. That way we can make an actual selection.
Yeah.
So I think as much as we want the process to be quick, I don't think it's going to be that same day.
On Monday now.
all right.
Yeah, or
Right.
even on Tuesday.
Right.
Because we'd have to line up.
I think it should happen next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there a select board member that has an interest in being a part of this?
We got my calendar now to see if it could work.
I mean, I do have an interest.
Yeah, I have an interest, but I'm not
you know, I-
sure.
Yeah, yeah, full cart.
Yeah.
But I can make time, you know, how long do you think it would be? That we
I
have
have to-
like an hour or 4 hours, half a day?
I think it depends on how many we get.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean, it would
but
be,
we can review them, not together, we can
Right.
we can
Yeah,
read them and then
absolutely.
get together and talk about them.
Absolutely.
And then want to interview a couple of them?
Right.
So
Is
we
that
could
the
scan,
plan?
we could scan them
Scan
all
them
in.
and
Yeah.
share them with people.
Share them.
Okay,
And then
And-
schedules.
I imagine the interview potentially, depending on who you
Right.
get, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if there's, you know, a couple that are close and you're like really unsure about it, we haven't worked with them, then it would be, I think, a good idea.
Right,
To do that.
absolutely.
and I assume Aldrich and Elliott are one of the,
I would assume that they're gonna be one of
I
them.
would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Well-
If people could be tentatively available, and then we can follow up with how many we
You
get.
could put it
and
in
all
an
that.
email.
Put-
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it in
Yeah.
an email and we'll
Okay.
see, yeah.
And send them to
Okay,
any of us who
Okay.
want to
Yeah.
read them.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm sure I will not be present on Monday, probably not Tuesday, but I would hopefully be back by Wednesday, back in
okay.
action.
Okay, is there anything else on town administrator, or anybody have any questions for Joy or Renee?
I guess I have one more thing that just came in the mail. The Vermont Land Trust, we just got an email from, or a letter from them that the O'Neill property, they finally closed on that.
Okay.
So that's officially
So that's all done, huh?
all done.
Wow, that's great.
I think that's it.
All right. Next item is select board forum.
No. So we had a few items to check off to get the Bissonnette fields open. We had to plant some trees, so I want to thank Andrea and Paul Wizerack for helping out. And there was a bunch of other people there too.
The rec committee,
The rec committee and just
a
some
lot
other.
of people helped.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who showed up, so that was great. We had a wiffle ball game up there.
Nice.
So I'm pleased to report that the Millie's Field, the first of the three, is officially open. Got an occupancy permit. There was a ultimate frisbee tournament up there the other day. Seemed like it went off very well. Everybody was happy, so
So if somebody
great.
wanted to use it, do they go through the rec?
they would go through Jen.
Yeah. And so obviously Ultimate Frisbee's like a club or something and they ask,
I
or
was
maybe
through
that
the
was
school, I
something extra.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimate.
Through the community school.
And then,
Through the school
I
now?
believe that
Used to be
was
Dan
through the
Jacobs
community
and that.
school.
Okay.
and then,
Or not.
you know, a soccer club might ask. And anybody else in town could go there and use it if it's not occupied by a soccer team, right? You know,
Sure,
you could go
yeah.
and kick a ball around or have a game of wiffle ball
Yep.
or shoot the frisbee. So great.
And hopefully that being open will free up some places that are closer to
Right.
the
Right.
village,
Yeah,
you know, for small games.
that's good.
And the contractor's working on a little bit spotted right now until he frees up completely his calendar, but he's begun work on the next two. So,
Yeah, I've seen out there working.
and
I
those
mean-
will be seated probably closer to fall at this point.
So now we've got this momentum really going. It would be good at some point in the next couple of months or 3 months, either whether it's Chew Tom or somebody sort of says, here's where we are, here's still what we have left to do.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've been putting 5,000 in the budget, you know, toward it.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know, here's sort of what's left and, you know, just
Right.
to
Yeah.
kinda know
Again,
how-
our group, the organizing committee, everybody who's been active is really, really busy in the summertime.
Yeah.
So as much as
yeah.
we'd like to
So
post all over
whatever,
the place,
yeah,
here's what
right.
we've done, woo-woo,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yep.
we're happy to have it open.
It looks
It's great.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. I
It
mean,
is beautiful over
It's
there.
a fantastic playing surface.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it looks
So we're really happy. But yeah, the fanfare is lacking a little bit.
No, yeah, I think just
But-
to get us up to snuff, you know,
Yeah,
how far are we, you know,
Right.
and what's left? It would be good to know.
we can see the finish line.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. All right. Anything else for select board?
Yeah, I want to thank 3 CVU students who helped fix the benches that are along the canal sidewalk. Noah, Sienna, and Annabelle. I can't remember their last names, and I was looking through the email, but 3 seniors from CVU spent morning putting the new benches, new lumber on the benches that were originally donated by the Lions Club.
Great.
Conversely, I want to thank you for taking that on.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Anyone else?
Yeah, there's if you place yourself at the pedestrian bridge next to the public house,
Yeah.
the sidewalk, and you're heading towards the north, and the sidewalk kind of bends there and
Yes.
then goes back. So at that bend, there was a water leak a while back, and we dug it up, and it was covered up again. But it's become sort of a de facto kind of pedestrian area for people that don't go all the way to the back, but just continue on down like towards Bissonnette.
And they cut across Jews and
Exactly, and it's kind of a mess, and perhaps there's something we could do to clean that up a little bit, just to kind of finish it off.
I'm not sure where you're talking about when you say it.
At the sidewalk?
Did
The
they go on the other
sidewalk.
side?
I thought you took,
It's an asphalt.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about when they just fixed it recently on the other side?
No, before you were here.
Uh,
Yeah, it was, it's right there at that bend, and at the house next to Giroux.
I'll take a look.
Yeah,
I'll
take
be
a look.
happy to-
Yeah.
Just on the other
It's
side.
in the right. It's pretty much kind of in the 116 right of way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it was a water leak, and it
Yeah.
just never got.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never been part of the sidewalk, but it is just
It
where
is.
it's obvious
It-
to walk
it-
if you don't want to walk over to Creekside to.
Right. It
Exactly.
feels
It's
like
where the sidewalk bends.
I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it feels like that sidewalk should just dive
Right.
into that parking area, which is on the right of way, and then you can go across in front of the fire department and keep going, because I tend to go that way if
Yeah.
that's the direction I'm going.
Sure,
I think
we all
everybody
do.
else will.
Yeah, we all do.
But it would be good to just take a look at it and see.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Any?
do have another one, Phil.
Yeah.
So the Hinesburg Business and Professional Association, they're having the golf tournament this weekend. They have a few teams with 3 players. They could use 4, so if anybody out there wants to play, get a hold of Mike
Is it-
or David Palmer.
Is it Saturday?
It's Saturday. and it benefits the fireworks. And that reminds me about one thing. The parade is supposed to be June 30th.
Yes.
I haven't seen anything in quite a while explaining that.
I had
or-
that topic, just sort of an update.
Right.
I imagine they're getting ready,
Isn't
but
there something in the record?
I don't know.
I-
Just in the.
I didn't see it.
Then,
Right.
Yeah.
if there is,
I think
So-
more promotion now. I
Yeah.
mean, we're what, 3
Yeah.
weeks away?
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So the Hilly Hobby Run is Tuesday night, Tuesday at late
The same as
afternoon.
it normally is.
I think there's the auction they have at the town hall. That is going to be on Saturday, I think.
On the 30th.
On the
I think the
30th.
book sale is gonna start Friday night.
Oh, okay, and go into
And go
Saturday.
into Saturday, that's sponsored by the library.
Good.
It's at Town Hall.
And now obviously the
And-
parade, which I don't know if it starts at 11, but it would be good to get, I don't know if the rec committee or somebody,
Theme fire
Right.
departments?
yeah.
What's that?
The theme of the parade,
Fire
fire,
depart-
or fire departments?
I'm not sure. What the thing is.
No, I think
No.
have a theme, but I can't
Right.
remember what the theme
They
is.
mentioned
They mentioned it when they were
It's
having.
United We Stand or something. like
Yeah.
but I
that.
think the bigger question you have is what's the coordinated effort that's happening to
Right,
publicize
I think
it?
a schedule should be
Yeah.
published on
Yeah.
Front Porch
Yeah.
Forum
Yeah.
and
Right.
Yeah.
Citizen and wherever.
So people can
Facebook page.
plan their weekend too around
Right.
it, yeah,
Yeah,
And so people show up.
Because it's getting close now.
yeah.
Rec
Yeah.
committee
That's
and
right,
fire
it is
department.
close, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Historical Society is planning a virtual
Yeah,
tour.
that sounds real.
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So there are,
Lot
I
of
think there's a
things.
lot of events happening, but there does need to be some
So
publicity.
I have to talk to the historical, there, who would that be?
Ann
That's Ann
Ann
Thomas?
Yes, Thomas. Yeah.
All right. And I will put it on record that Al Barber said we were going to be impressed. So there's got to be some good fire trucks. I want to see them.
Yeah, there was something just in the record, I'm quite sure,
Yes,
because,
that's what I'm
because
just saying.
Tom Giroux he'd written an
wrote it.
article on the front
That's
page.
Right.
Yes, and it sort of
That was
talked
about
about,
the band, which
The
was a
band.
different day.
That's right. Yeah.
okay. All right, yeah,
But I
there's
remember
something.
there was something about the Historical Society
Yeah.
Yeah.
as well.
But it'd be good to
but I-
put it all on one
I mean, I
spot.
think
It's
that
been
the little-
spotty.
The little
Absolutely.
flyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It should be in Front Porch Forum more than once.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to say the select board and the planning commission sponsored the dinner
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. It was very successful. It was about 70 people, which is more than usual. I think people got to see what the community dinner was all about, and it really was a community dinner, having some volunteers do it, and it was well done. So
We
we'll
were
probably
not
do it again
in
next year.
church on Sunday, but you guys got rave reviews on the food.
Oh, did we? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
And it raised almost $400, I was told.
Yeah,
yeah, more
three, maybe something like that
340,
for
350,
the backpack program. So I
Oh,
went
right,
to
yeah, that
the
was a separate.
Vermont Food Bank backpack program,
Right.
which the Fun Run also does, and I think they're up over 30,000 that they've raised for that now in the last 4 or 5 years. Anything else? Next item on the agenda is reviewing the minutes from May 21st. We had a copy, and
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of May 21st as amended if needed.
Second.
all right. I had a chance. I looked them over. And I had one comment, but then I saw it was later on in the minutes, just the water and wastewater budget. It said Eric highlighted areas of significant change in water repair and maintenance are up due to high volume. And I, we did at that point, I think, said, and this is the first year to reflect the bond vote. But it does say it a little bit later on. But it's maybe not as clear, so I wouldn't mind having that in there. We
Yeah.
did discuss that. I thought that was the significant change versus that other item. Anybody else have anything?
I don't know, when Sarah Reeves was here, we talked a little bit about, we did say that Hinesburg is very enthusiastic about having the drop-off center return.
Yep, and we did note that it was approved that they have a capital of 250,000, I
That
believe.
it's in their budget,
It's in their budget.
yeah. So if we can say that, and recognize that it was in the CSWD budget.
All right, are we good with the minutes with those changes? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and so none opposed, that motion passed. And we have a motion for the warrants
I'll make
and
that
payroll,
motion For warrants and payroll.
so to approve those.
I made the motion.
Thanks, Tom. I'm not quite on the ball here.
All right, this is the,
Testing you merrily.
this is the evening we usually go to approve them anyway, so I've looked at them and, you know, they're here. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and none opposed, so that motion passed. And now, we expect to go into executive session to talk about a personnel issue. So I think I would need a couple motions.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session based on appropriate state statute.
Yeah.
It's trying to
There.
identify which one.
Yeah.
I haven't said
Cheat sheet
that in the
right there.
past. That's perfect.
And then I'll make the motion to discuss personnel.
Do we have a
issues.
second to,
I'll make a second for Andrew.
So that first motion, and you seconded, all those in favor,
Aye.
say aye. And then we'll need a second motion.
Make a motion to go executive session to discuss personnel issue,
And I'll second that as well.
including
Okay,
including Renee and Joy.
yes.
Or,
Possible I might not be.
Okay.
I may
okay,
need to go
okay.
home.
Renee and or Joy.
I can take
Yep.
notes.
you'll let me know if any.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, so we will stop the, what is it called? Transmission?
Broadcast.
The show.
Broadcast.
The show ends now.
I want you to notice though
and,
that we were all
um,
color coordinated here.
And we, yeah. And
And Renee
if,
too.
if there are any actions taken,
And Ben.
we will come out of executive session, make those actions, and they will be reflected in our minutes.
Bill's only on that after he got
I know, I didn't get the memo. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Just a note, the next meeting, I'll be coming back from New York for my grandkids'